detention, sir.
Me with you is already one big detention.
Son of a...
Sir, I don't understand.
That's glaringly apparent.
I can't fail this class.
Oh, don't sell yourself short, Mr. Coates. I truly believe that you can.
Every year at Barton Academy, students, faculty, and staff depart the campus for a 2-week winter break. But there are always an unfortunate few who have nowhere to go for the holidays. They're known as the Holdovers.
Mr. Hunnam.
Hello, Mary.
I heard you got stuck with babysitting duty this year. How'd you manage that?
You know, he used to be a student, right? Yeah, that's why he knows how to inflict maximum pain on us.
I thought all the Nazis were hiding in Argentina.
Stifle it, Tully.
You just earned yourself a detention, sir.
Being here with you is already one big detention.
Son of a bitch, that's another detention.
Do you think I want to be babysitting you? No, I was praying your mother would pick up the phone or your father would arrive in a helicopter or a flying saucer. My father's dead.
You don't tell a boy that's been left behind at Christmas that nobody wants him? What's wrong with you?
There's nobody here, okay? You stay out of my way, and I'll stay out of yours.
Let me sleep. Now, most of the kids dislike you, pretty much hate you. Teachers too. You know that, right?
I find the world a bitter and complicated place, and it seems to feel the same way about me. I think you and I have this in common.
I don't think I've ever had a real family Christmas like this before. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
History is not simply the study of the past, it is an explanation
Of the present. See, when you say it that way and throw in some pornography, it's a lot easier to understand.
I'd like to propose a toast to my two unlikely companions.
Are you trying to lick down my shirt?
No. Yes.
You're gonna get me fired.
This is your Rubicon.
Do not cross
The Rubicon.
The Holdovers.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Movie Uppers. I am Bob Sham.
I am Angela.
The sounds you hear may be dogs.
Definitely.
Our big dog is now pretty much recovered from his surgery, so he's walking around.
He's walking around. He is a big dog, and he is very strong and a little goofy. And he doesn't know his own strength. And I don't know if you can tell because it's healing, but...
Oh, yeah.
I was putting his leash on the other day.
It looked much worse the other day.
It did. And I was standing behind him, which I will never do again, to like clip his leash. And he all of a sudden like bucked straight up into my mouth. And I looked like...
You can hear him right now.
Yeah, you can hear him right now.
He's just playing with something. So your lip had a big bruise on it, like right on one side.
Yeah.
And so for Thanksgiving, that's what you look like. I slapped you in the mouth. And we went to see the movie we're discussing today. Then a couple of days later,
that too.
And I was like, "Oh boy, maybe we should wait to go out into public."
No one said a word to me about it, which I guess is good and fine, and you shouldn't. But I also...
It's healing pretty quickly, though.
I felt like I needed to explain to everyone, but then that also seems like over-explaining to just walk up to people and say, my dog hit me in the face. It wasn't my husband. Although my family ribbed you pretty good.
So,
which was hilarious.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, I just went along with it.
Well, they know that it wasn't you, so.
Some pretty inappropriate jokes. So this Christmas season, we're going to be going to the movies a lot this month. And I'm not sure. We may, at least 4 times this month we're going to the movies. It might be more because there's so much I want to see in the theaters. The Christmas season is looking way better than last summer.
Yeah.
There's really only 2 movies I cared about last summer. That whole summer preview we did, if you go back and look, the podcast version is terrible because it's a very visual episode. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we only saw like 2 or 3 of the movies that we discussed.
The quote unquote summer movie fair is just not our thing.
It's just become more of a Marvel thing, I think.
Yeah, it's all Marvel and superhero and exciting and big, and we're just kind of over all that.
But it seems like by the end of the year, they're trying to push the more what they would consider more Oscar worthy, the more prestige indie-ish style. Not saying they're pure indie. That depends on the studio, but you know what I mean. The stuff that isn't centered around big costumed fist fights as much.
Yeah, little more heartfelt story
grounded
potential,
or has like some deeply dramatic dark message behind it, or anything like that. We went to our what I consider our home theater of the Belcourt. We watched Alexander Payne's new movie, The Holdovers.
Yes,
Alexander Payne, you know him. He directed Citizen Ruth, Election, About Schmidt, The Descendants, Sideways, those movies. Election's probably like one of the great comedies of the 90s.
Of those movies, I've only seen Election and Sideways, and
he did that movie Downsizing, which we didn't see, where Matt Damon is tiny.
Yeah, never saw that. I never saw The Descendants either.
Yeah,
even though people talked about it a lot when it came out.
That got ragged because Emma Stone was supposed to play someone who was at least half Native Hawaiian.
Right.
I understand that criticism, but it does seem like that from some people, that I care about hearing their opinions on movies, that it wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen it, so we don't know. But we have seen Election. I've seen Citizen Ruth.
No, I haven't seen that.
It's been a long time. Citizen Ruth has a Laura Dern as a complete, for lack of a better term, white trash derelict who's taken in by all these organizations to Christian groups and super anti-abortion groups, and they're all kind of using her to prop up their images and organizations.
Oh, interesting.
And Bruce Willis plays, or not Bruce Willis, I'm forgetting his name. He was Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh,
Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds.
He plays this evangelical dude who is obviously gay, and he has a boy that slathers him up in oil. But it's a pretty funny movie.
I love those people, and I would love to see it.
Yeah, apparently, Burt Reynolds, who's passed away now, regretted accepting that role in Boogie Nights, even though they might be some of his best late career roles. I mean, shit like Smokey and the Bandit or The Longest Yard would probably be, his biggest ones. But for late era movies, it seemed like Burt was crushing it. And then he regretted a couple of those, I guess.
I mean, those are the quote unquote cooler movies that he did.
Exactly. They were cooler.
Yeah.
Apparently, I heard Mark Wahlberg claim to have some regrets over playing Dirk Diggler. But bro, you wouldn't be here if you weren't.
Not at all.
Dirk Diggler.
He'd still be singing Good Vibrations.
You rode on the clout of a good movie, so you can make your shitty ass movies now. Mm-hmm. So, whatever, Marky Mark. Dude just seems to get more full of shit the older he gets.
Yeah, he'd just be him and the Funky Bunch hanging out.
I mean, his last good movie was The Departed.
Departed.
He has not been in a good movie since that movie. That's just the facts. But we're talking about Alexander Payne.
And
What's
Alexander Payne, I was just going to say, he did a little intro for our theater specific because we were one of the 5 theaters who for the first weekend got the 35 millimeter film. This movie is set in 1970. Mm-hmm. And there are 5 theaters around the world or around the country at any given time that are showing a 35 millimeter version of this. We also got this very brief, taped introduction by Alexander Payne. It seemed very off the cuff, but it was kind of endearing in that way. He just kind of was like, hello.
Well, we've seen a few of these. They do this for these more independent theaters where these types of movies play.
Yeah.
Where we've seen it a few times now where the directors have a little video package at the beginning basically being like, thank you for going to the theater.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what every one of them is.
I know.
Thank you for going to the movies. Jesus, please do it more often.
I saw a real fun one there, and I know this is a little sidebar, but I think it's worth it. I went to see Grease 2 there, and they actually got Maxwell Caulfield, and he was sitting by a window in his house, and the lighting was so bizarre, but he was talking about how great it is that people are still screening this movie and how it's like such a cult classic and like basically thanking his fans for like him still being relevant because he doesn't do anything now.
He should
No,
do
I
that.
know. But it was very sweet. He was just like, hey, I thank you so much for like still watching this movie.
Y'all love crap. You love to bring crap out.
Listen. Grease 2 is fun.
Anyway,
I'm not going to say it's
we're
a
not
good
talking
movie.
about Grease 2. We're talking about The Holdovers, starring Paul Giamatti, Dominic Sessa, Davine Joy Randolph. Actually, Divine Joy Randolph has second billing, and Dominic Sessa. But on our ticker, her name is longer, so I had to put her on the third line. But yeah, it's basically Paul Giamatti, Divine Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa. Written by David Hemmingson, directed by Alexander Payne. There's already a porn parody of this. They come out so quick, called The Glory Holdovers. I haven't seen it yet. It's brand new, just like this movie. This movie only came out at the end of October. I'm not sure if that can be heard. He is torturing a squeak toy.
Do I need to go take it away? He's never made this much squeaky sound.
I'm not sure how much that picks up.
Okay.
I'm really not sure. We'll just keep going. But yeah, The Glory Holdovers. We'll have to go to the theater next door to the Bell Court in the alleyway to watch that one.
I hope y'all can hear it a little bit, because then otherwise...
Some boys up in private school.
Yes.
In New England somewhere.
New England.
They've got a professor there. This is a private, like, grade school, like a high school.
It seems to be like middle through, like maybe like a 7 through 12, because there's some younger kids.
It kind of automatically is like, oh, boys having some kind of relationship with a professor. This is like a Good Will Hunting. My brain always goes to Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
But this isn't as... There is a threat of military school for a student, but...
It's not like... We're not in like... what was that? Robin Williams, Oh, Captain, My Captain?
That's Good Will... No, not Good Will Hunting.
Not.
I said the wrong movie. It's Dead Poets Society.
Dead Poets Society.
I think I was saying Good Will Hunting the other day bringing this up.
You did.
No, Dead Poets Society is what I meant.
Yeah.
And there is the threat of a student going to military school, has a similarity, and they're private school rich kids.
Yeah.
But the difference is, like, if it's Dead Poets Society, if no one liked the teacher, and pretty much everyone but maybe one character was a consistent asshole.
Yeah, and it's, the idea that there's just going to always be a group of boys who cannot go home for the Christmas holiday. One boy can't get back to his country. It's too far to travel. Another boy's parents are on a mission. Another boy's dad is mad at him because he won't cut his hair. It's a little silly, some of the reasons.
Well, we're not going to get into the bit by bit by the journey here.
No, of course not.
But it does kind of whittle down into like a core group, which was, I actually thought that was a great idea.
I do too.
Because it kind of presents like it's going to be like some class like I keep almost saying Good Will Hunting.
Dead Poet Society.
Like a Dead Poet Society where they'll grow to be like inspired and maybe inspire each other. But no, like at one point, all the kids are gone except one.
Yeah.
And it's between Paul Giamatti's very cranked, the movie's about solitude. It's about loneliness.
He's cranky, not like on crank.
So their holdover over the holidays, because like most schools, it empties out.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be some kids lingering.
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, you got Dominic Sessa's character, Angus, who is a very depressed kid.
Yep.
Who's been through some shit in his immediate family, and he's very isolated. He's been kicked out of schools, but he's incredibly smart.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti plays, I actually can't remember his name, but they call him Professor Walleye because he has a lazy eye. And he's an incredibly hard-ass professor who doesn't actually play up the politics, because when we initially meet him, he's talking to the dean, the headmaster, and the headmaster's explaining that this kid is the son of a senator and that you need to pass this kid.
Well, he failed him already.
He failed him, and you need to, just give him a C- or something to get him right over the hump. But Professor Walleye refuses to do so. And when we see him passing down the grades for the in-semester exam,
everyone's failing.
Everyone is failing. There's maybe like 2 C's, but the Angus character got a B, which is the highest in the class.
Yeah, so he's obviously the smartest.
I can tell by your faces that many of you are shocked at the outcome. I, on the other hand, am not, because I have had the misfortune of teaching you this semester, and even with my ocular limitations, I witness firsthand your glazed, uncomprehending expressions.
Sir, I don't understand.
That's glaringly apparent.
No, it's... I can't fail this class.
Oh, don't sell yourself short, Mr. Coates. I truly believe that you can.
And the kid that he didn't pass obviously is a different kid, but the dean is mad at him because of that. So he's sort of being punished by having to stay. But he wasn't going to go anywhere anyway because he never really leaves campus. He lives there all the time.
Yeah.
But now he's being punished by having to babysit these boys.
And our other main character is Mary Lamb. She's the school cook. She works in the back. And she went through an extreme tragedy in that her son, who went to the school and did well there, he could not get scholarships to go to. Well, they couldn't afford.
He got scholarships.
They couldn't afford to send him to the Ivy League universities.
Yeah.
So he joins the military. He gets I think they drafted him. There's student deferment programs, but he decided to go up and so he could serve and go back to school on a GI Bill.
Yeah.
And
he couldn't do the student deferment because he couldn't pay for college.
Her son is, of course, going to Vietnam. It's 1970, and he dies. And we only see him in a picture presented as they're mourning his loss right before they all exit for the semester. So that's 3 degrees of solitude. The Paul Giamatti professor character, he's really a hard ass. He's super academic, but I kind of like how he doesn't give any credence to the nepotism involved.
That's great, yeah.
He demands that, he's pushing back on their privilege almost too much in the sense that he doesn't understand that these kids could still have particular problems, but he also is there to remind these kids when they complain about certain things of the realities of life outside of their little bubble.
Yeah, and obviously you really get to know these characters through the course of this movie, and you begin to understand exactly why he is the way that he is, and why he feels that way about it. But he is like the one teacher who no one likes him, but it's because he's being honest and maybe a little insulting, but he's being honest, and he's not going to give you... If you don't work, he's not going to reward you. And
these flaws of all these characters, I don't want to say that it's not a movie where it's like, and we all learned a valuable lesson. It's just, as we discussed this, I said to you, this is the sweetness of the movie is purely natural.
Yes.
It is not forced. It is not melodramatic. It is not, everything feels, these 3 characters kind of become a makeshift family. And that doesn't mean they all get along or they're all mad at each other.
Or that it's all great all the time.
There's even a part where the Paul Giamatti character does defend the boy, but he's careful not to oversell his intelligence. So he's like, he's a very intelligent boy. I don't know about brilliant. Like, there's always something that's making sure to be like, no, you're a cunt still.
Yeah.
But there is a real charm to the movie, and that the relationship, the natural way. There's a respect, but there's not just this overwrought adoration by the end of it, and it's really well crafted and well done.
What makes it feel so real is it's, like you said, 3 people who are isolated in their own ways, who have built up walls, and somehow over this 2 weeks they let each other in a little bit. And it doesn't mean that they completely change who they are. They're still living their lives, but they make a connection that feels really genuine. I think what we said was right after is it's not saccharine. It doesn't feel fake. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is a holiday movie. It's over the holidays. And sure, it's coming out. You could call it a Christmas movie, I guess.
It is.
It is, but it's not like a Hallmark Christmas movie.
No, not
It's like
at all.
a real Christmas movie. But also... even within that, it's easy to also think, this is like a private school and these are rich kids. This is not a story about that.
No, not really.
They show the different levels of who can end up in a place like that, whether or not they actually have money.
Yeah.
Mary is the cook. She's the head cook, but she's the cook at this school, and she went there so her son could go to school there. That's why she took that job. And obviously, Paul Giamatti is a teacher. He's not, making a ton of money and sending a kid there. Like, he's teaching. And then you've got this kid who arguably on his own has nothing. Yeah. So it's just interesting. It's easy to kind of look at it and think it's going to be like another Dead Poet Society and overwrought or like super heavy-handed. And I love Dead Poet Society for different reasons, but... And
when I got mixed feelings on the movie, but because it's too heavy-handed sometimes. But It's been a long time since I've seen it.
I have fond memories of it. I love, I love or hate. I'm very black or white, but I have fond memories of Dead Poet Society.
Sure.
But I wouldn't say it's realistic.
No.
This is.
But yeah. And you kind of understand maybe the depressive natures of characters a little better. Mm-hmm. But like I said, this movie is about solitude.
Yeah.
And these characters that, even when they're together, they still might feel very alone, but they kind of have to be together in spite of it.
I was right. This is why I hate parties. That was a disaster. Total disaster.
Speak for yourself. I was having fun. Let's take Mary home, make sure she's okay, and we'll come back.
Out of the question.
Come on, would you give me a break? God, I was hitting it off with Elise.
Oh, God. The niece? Are you kidding me? This poor woman is bereft, and all you can think about is some silly girl.
I don't need you feeling sorry for me.
See? I'm just saying, this was the first good thing that came with being in this prison with you.
Need I remind you that it is not my fault that you are stuck here? Do you think I want to be babysitting you?
Mm-hmm. And it is a sweet movie in spite of itself.
Yeah.
And when we watched it on 35 millimeter, I felt so lucky because I didn't aim for the 35 millimeter. It just so happened to be playing on the weekend that we went to go see it at the Belcourt here in Nashville.
If we had waited a week, we would have seen a regular
digital. But obviously, Alexander Payne is making like his 70s Hal Ashby-esque like movie. That was his goal, including music from the times with some exceptions. Like there was a couple of 70s songs that actually came out like a year or two after the movie. A more contemporary song at the top that sounds like a 70s folk song or a 60s folk song. But, it's those little details. It's no big deal. But it has that classic 70s movie vibe. Yeah. And in the 35 millimeter, it works. And I kind of feel like that's like maybe the way it should be seen.
I agree.
After seeing it like that.
I agree. And, that's what Alexander Payne was saying at the beginning. Yeah. Is he was thanking us for coming to the theater, but also saying, a movie's not done until it has an audience. And seeing this movie on 35 millimeter with an audience in a theater, that is how it should be seen. Mm-hmm. So I feel really lucky that we got to see it that way.
So all our leads here, Paul Giamatti, Dominic Sessa, Divine Joy Randolph, great across the board.
Absolutely.
And so indicative of their own particular cultures and backgrounds. There is of course there's some class discussion here, but it's not harped upon. And it does present maybe characters with some background that I wasn't a part of, but I was still able to kind of identify with their flaws and their isolation. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the character of Mary Lamb ever ate with the other two.
The only time she did is on Christmas Day.
They did eat together on Christmas Day?
The three of them sat down and had Christmas dinner.
Oh,
on Christmas Day, she made a ham.
But there are other scenes distinctivly where they asked her. There's one in the restaurant and one when the holdover begins, and she's like, "No." There's this one bully kid who's pretty racist, and she actively is just like stink eyes the fuck out of him. But thank God this movie isn't us having to deal with that character throughout the movie and having to have this character go on his own personal journey. Thank God we didn't get some kind of tired bullshit like that. And I think that's what's so interesting and great about this movie is that it kind of, when you think it's going to go down these expectations, it kind of bucks it. Mm-hmm. It kind of just throws it aside and it cuts through everything and gets to the meat of what matters about the movie. And it's also genuinely charming, well written, and a funny ass movie at the same time.
It is funny.
And Paul Giamatti's character, we don't even know if he's ever been laid.
No wonder you're afraid of women.
I am not.
Afraid of women?
Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. Dr. Gertler says I don't always give consideration to my audience.
Oh. And who is Dr. Gertler?
My shrink.
Has Dr. Gertler ever tried a good swift kick in the ass?
Okay. All right, now your turn.
Go ahead. Tell me something about me. Something negative.
Something negative about you?
Sure. Just one thing.
Just one.
He's a drunk.
He says that stories from his youth would curl your toes.
And he's such a hard ass who automatically distrusts all the students here that he's expecting to treat the holdover as though it's like a semester between the semesters.
Yeah, he's like assigning detentions and he has like a schedule and obviously all of that, it doesn't go the way he plans.
No.
And yeah, he manages to play this very complicated character who is one of those like smartest guy in the room, right? Like he has a fact for everyone, or let me tell you a thing about what you're doing that you might not know. He's very proud of himself all the time. But he genuinely also like has a good heart. Like you can tell like he really cares about Mary in particular, and he really like stands up for her against that shit kid.
Yeah.
You know, and he makes a point to say like you are wrong right now. Like he doesn't that's what's so good about him. They don't like him because he's hard on them. But he is being hard on them because he knows they can be better.
Yeah. But he still doesn't trust them. And he
doesn't like them.
He still has no faith in the majority of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because he knows they're little shits and they're going to be little shits, but they don't have to be.
The headmaster of the school was one of his first students. They still don't like each other after all these years. It's very funny. So these characters, they end up kind of holding each other accountable. Angus's character puts his professor's shit into perspective, and the professor, they're cutting each other down to size, and it kind of works out in a mutual way. The Mary Lamb character is probably the only character that you have the most pure sympathy for because of her loss. Mm-hmm. And they have to kind of, they end up being like emotional buffers for her in a way. And she also has to remind them of, the background and the history, and you can't really judge each other's personal lives as they go through it. And even the way I describe that makes it sound like it's a little too sweet, too saccharine, but it's not.
It's very much, it's not yes, because the way you described it, you could almost think that it's like, she's like the conscience of the group, but it's not. It's like, it's almost like, looking at you and going like, you're being a fucking dick right now.
Yeah.
Open your eyes and notice what he's going through. But it's not like, I'm going to sit you down and we're going to have a conversation. We're all going to grow out of this. Like, it's not that.
And honestly, you could sit there and write a saccharine, trite script like that, and it still probably would be Oscar bait. But I think this movie is worthy Oscar bait while seemed like so carefully making it a point to not revel in that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because, and I know you didn't mean to say Good Will Hunting earlier, but it could have gone the way of like Dead Poet Society meets Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
It really could have, but it doesnned.
Yes.
This is a better movie than both of those. This is a good movie.
This isn't a Ben Affleck joint, okay? This is, and of course, Alexander Payne, he satirizes, nothing's really pure in his movies. Like, one of my favorite aspects of Election is that the dumb jock character is actually the sweetest character in the entire movie. And the super nerdy Hillary Clinton Jr. character is like the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
And just that alone I remember just when I first saw that just felt so different and unique and refreshing. And I think this movie, for its own reasons, is also quite refreshing. Even these like holiday, type movies where people are kind of just the being together type movies like this to varying degrees, maybe even the little cornier ones. I find that I like them more as I get older.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, no, we don't want to... It's up to y'all to check out The Journey. We recommend the movie, but we're going to rate the movie that we have seen, The Holdovers by Alexander Payne. The first of our real Christmas season at the theater drops. There will be at least 4. Mm-hmm. There's so many good movies coming out this month that I'm interested in. But you're going to give it 1 through 5. I'm going to give 1 through 5 combined for best out of 10. Mm-hmm. I think this is a 4.25.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Truly, it is. I hate it when that happens.
I feel like you say that a lot.
I need to start going first again. Well, you've a lot of times when I say, you're like, I'll match you. Like,
sure.
So it does happen.
I mean, we like a lot of the similar type things. But that is what
I was going to say. It's a little over a 4. 4.5 feels like a little too high, but it's very good. It's very, very good.
And 8.5 is better than... I think it's probably the best movie we've rated that we've gone to see in the theaters this year so far.
Sure.
Oppenheimer got an 8. Killer's got an 8.
Yep.
Barbie got like a 7.5, 7.75, something like that.
Respectable.
These are all good scores,
yeah.
But I would say that this movie is better than all of those.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I agree.
Look, you check out the 8.5s there. It is in the company of The Fablemans, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Batman, Akira, Fox and His Friends, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Wild at Heart.
That makes so much sense. It makes sense.
The Holdovers by Alexander Payne, a solid and refreshing holiday feature. If it's playing in your theater, highly recommended. If the 35 millimeter hits your town like it did ours, we recommend you check that out. It kind of gives it more of a authentic feel for its time period. Mm-hmm. And there you go. Check the show notes for links and other places to find us. We're going to be with you all Christmas long. We hope your holidays are great and that you see a lot of movies with us. And so like, subscribe, leave a comment, say whatever you'd like. Nice things, critical things, corrections. I'm not against corrections.
Sure.
If I say something wrong, go ahead. I also love facts, like movie facts and shit like that. I will much more likely to personally respond to those kind of things. But I can't respond to everything, but people have been very nice and interactive with us. And it's been really something that keeps us going. We just love movies, and we appreciate y'all. It's not Thanksgiving anymore, but we're thankful for y'all.
Yeah.
All right.
Death to all traitors.
Is it death to all traitors? You know, I think we need to spend this next month coming up with a new sign off for 2024, because that's going to be an election year. We're going to make it the year of Von Trier. It's going to be drab enough. So maybe we need to spend the month trying to think of something more
Well, I
positive.
don't want to say life to all lovers anymore.
Okay, well, this, for now, it's death to all traitors. But we're going to come up with something new, so go ahead.
Death to all traitors.